Hi everyone. Here I'm working on what I'm calling a log cabin on a foundation, which means that I'm sewing these pieces down through all the layers through this back piece of flannel and folding them back out. Now you have to, I'm at this point where I need to put a piece across this top here. And I was going to continue with this sort of fireworksy kind of pattern material, but I didn't have enough, so I'm just going to show you what you can do. What you can do is you can cut a piece that's not long enough, add another little piece in there, and then add the rest on the end if you can find it. Oh, there it is. So there. So that just makes it a bit longer, and now it'll reach. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to sew these together with a running stitch, same way as you would piece fabric together. I'll just do this. So I do my stitches as small as I can and multiple, but I don't fuss too much. And look, there's my threads just come undone. I'm too lazy to get the needle threader out. I'm using the chenille 22 needle because it's easier to rethread. Oops, and there's a knot. Okay, there we go. So a couple of little back stitches, stopping a little bit before the end because there's no need to go right to the end. Trim off that end. And so then I've pieced that piece to that. So all I'm doing here is making a longer strip. And it means also that you can have a piece going, you know, you can have changing fabrics in the middle of a strip, which you can't easily do if you do those strips individually sewn down to the foundation. So I'll just go with the other one. I'm back on deck on Monday at Goodwood, so I'm looking forward to that. And it'd be great if you guys who are in Goodwood class had time to at least have one of the squares completely done, so that I can show you how to back it. So what that means, actually, I'll just tell you what that means then is, before we put that one on, I'll just show you where I'm coming towards the end of this. You need to have fabric that covers the edge of the flannel here. So it doesn't matter if it goes further, like see how this is, but don't put sewing on this bit because we're going to go around the edge of the flannel, turn it to the back, go around the edge and cut off anything that's sticking out so that it's just the flannel size block. Now, I've forgotten where I was going. I think I'm going along here. So now I should have a piece that is long enough. I've put that extra little bit of brown linen in the middle there. It's not the same as that brown, but I didn't bring any of that home with me. Okay, so I've cut this. Interestingly, also I've cut, you can see, oh, you probably can't see it all perfectly, but I've cut this not completely straight because I can see that along here it isn't completely straight. It's wider at this end than it is at this end. So we'll just pop that there. That's going to have those two right together there, but there's not a lot I can do about that. So just going to have to live with that. Okay, so now we line them up along the edge. And so we just line. Just be careful when you're lining up here because this bit of brown sticks out further and you've got to make sure that these at least match. And it doesn't matter if it sticks out a bit, but you don't want to, if you have it back here, you don't want to sew off the raw edge. You need to be sewing through all raw edges. So sewing through all, well, it's not sewing through the raw edges, it's sewing so that you're capturing enough of a raw edge seam allowance on the two pieces of fabric, and then also going through the flannel. So if I just pin it all down along here. Oh, now see, I'm a little bit close there, but I have made it, so that should be all right. Don't know where my other pin's gone. Oh, hang on, there it is. Okay, so I'm going to sew along here. Just going to zoom out so I can just see that you can't see the whole thing. Okay, so that's along there. Go through. That's what you get when you're too lazy to get the find the needle threader. I just sort of sheared that, so I split it. Ooh, I'm still doing it, I think. It's bunched up. There we go. Okay, smoothed it out. This is how I do a knot, by the way. I'm not sure if I've really shown people this. This is what my grandmother taught me. I basically wind it around once, have that little end there, then I roll it like that, and then I use my middle finger and that to pull it up there. By the way, my fingers are a bit dirty because I've been doing some painting, not anything more nasty than that. And the paint was meant to be completely water soluble and come off easily, but of course it didn't come off as easy as it was meant to. So now I'm just sewing along here. See how I've got that sticking up, because down here you can see the other piece of fabric there where that join is only to there, so I have to make it go straight across, matching the two raw edges of the piece of fabric that's a bit shorter. So let's go. Okay. Oh. Been eating popcorn. My fingers are a bit slippery. I'm trying to rush so that you're not waiting. I want to show you what it looks like when we flip back. But I keep unthreading my needle. So just check that both those raw edges are there and you're getting a decent seam allowance of 1/4 inch or so. See how that bunched up when I pulled it? You've got to make sure you smooth those out. So I'll do it again, I'll show you. See how it bunches up like that? If you just keep going, then you'll end up with wrinkles. So before you finish off, make sure you, and periodically as you're going, make sure you stretch it so that it's all loose enough and relaxed. Now I'm getting to the bit where I joined them on. Here it doesn't really matter if you go through these seams, or if you don't want to catch them down, you can just go See, I'm just putting my needle through the seam, coming up there. Just check you're covering, that you're leaving enough of a seam with the other edge. And seam allowance, I mean, see under here. Make sure you don't make that too short, because this one's longer and it covers up, and it can be easy to miss that layer underneath. Okay, so for this end, I'm just going to sew through here. Doesn't really matter if that sews down. Means that you can't turn your seam back the other way, but then that doesn't matter because you're just really turning it underneath. It's got to go one way, so it doesn't really matter which way that is. And effectively, of course, you are sewing through double seams like here. Oh, not here, but when you're sewing through edges like here, you're sewing through double seams, sewing them down, so might as well sew them down when they're that way as well. Okay, so we're at the end here. I'm just going to put a couple of back stitches to anchor it. There we go. That's it. Tip off the thread, get the needle and the pin out of the way. And we turn that back up. So now you see how when I'm turning it back up, I've got plenty to cover over that raw edge, because you want that raw edge completely covered. Now, made a bit of a miscalculation here. So, because we're going to turn it in to cover, it will be covered into here, but that's a little bit big for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little slither across there and flip it and then trim it to match. Anyway, the point of this was to show how I've put a little insert along that strip, which breaks up that line, and that's something you can do for an art, for creative purposes too. If you don't want to have great big long strips when you get to the end, this is a way of breaking those up into smaller segments. And you can even do it with multiple pieces in here, or a big, or just two pieces of different colors, or whatever you want to do. Okay, so that's not really finished yet, but I've still got to go down this side here and this here, and that's the stage that hopefully people might be out at Goodwood on Monday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there, and I'll talk to you then. See ya.